Nick Myron here with Big Y Fly Company, and today we're going to discuss some of our favorite flies for steelhead, which are tube flies. Tube flies have a couple different benefits over a traditional style fly. One, they're super easy to change in and out for different flies, and two, when that fish eats your fly, rather than the fly being stuck in its mouth, just the hook on a tube fly is stuck in the fish's mouth, and that tube fly is actually going to float up and down that leader, so it's going to cause a lot less damage to the fly. So first things first, I'm going to show you how to tie a tube fly on. So the first hook we're going to discuss is Olympic Peninsula Skagit Tactics Swing Hook. That's also known as OPST. This is an offset bend short shank hook with a straight eye. This is a barbless hook. Next up is the Trout Beads hook. This is a super durable hook, super strong with a straight shank, straight eye. Next up is Daichii's heavy tube fly. Also a straight shank, straight eye. Last up is Cascade Crest tube fly hook, which has a bent eye. So after you choose your hook, you're going to decide what kind of knot to use. Now, you've got a couple different options here. These straight-eyed hooks, the OPST Trout Beads and the Daichii, those are all going to benefit from an improved clinch knot. That improved clinch knot, because it's a straight eye, is going to run your knot and your shank of your hook parallel with your leader. This Cascade Crest tube fly hook has an upturned eye, and for that you're going to want to use what's known as a bait loop knot. I'll show you how to do both of those knots, but just know the goal is for your leader to be parallel with the shank of your hook. So I'm going to go over how you tie both of these knots, both for a straight shank, straight eye hook versus a turned up eye hook. We're going to start with the straight eye hook. First things first, you're going to take your line, your leader, cut about 3 feet, and tie a perfection loop. This perfection loop is going to be what goes on your sink tip. Now you're ready to put your tube fly on. Take the end of your leader, slide your tube fly on head first. That'll slide right down your leader. So after your tube fly's on, you're going to go ahead and tie your improved clinch knot on your straight-eyed hook. Thread it through the eye, wrap it 6 to 8 times, go through that loop at the base of the eye, and then go through that loop you just made. So your tube fly is going to be sliding up and down that leader, and what happens is when the current catches it, it forces that tube fly down to the end of the hook. It swings through the water. So the next item I'm going to show you is for a turned up eye hook. Now, I'm going to note that the reason I like using a straight shank versus a turned up eye hook is because the straight shank version that I just showed you is a lot easier to do. But this is still doable. First things first, you're going to take your leader, cut about 3 feet, same as the previous. And take your hook. We're actually going to be tying our hook on first. So you're going to take your end, thread it through the eye, take the main end, wrap it around the shank of the hook 4 to 5 times. Take the end of your main line, run it up through the eye of the hook, leave about 2 inches or so. This is that end I just threaded through the eye of the hook. Hold your tag end and your main end against the shank and continue wrapping. Wrap it 3 to 4 times. After you do that, just pull this main tag all the way through. Pull it tight. And this is what's known as a bait loop. So what this does is it allows your leader to run in line with the shank of your hook. As opposed to if you were to have tied just a standard improved clinch knot, your knot would have been at an angle of this shank. So with this, we've got our leader running parallel with the shank. So the last thing to do here is just cut your tag. And now you're ready to thread your tube fly on. Now this is a little opposite. We're going to be threading this the back end first. That slides down your leader. And now we're going to tie our perfection loop. Now just note that this perfection loop is going to need to be big enough to slide your hook and your fly through. So it's going to be a little bigger than your standard loop. So I got my loop. That's going to be big enough to get my fly through. Now I'm going to go ahead and tie this directly on to my sink tip with the loop to loop. Just thread that loop through. Take your fly and your hook, going through that loop. And there you got your loop to loop. We've recently expanded our tube fly selection to include many different color and weight variations. In addition to that, we've added a Cascade Crest tube fly tying kit for all you fly tiers. This kit includes all your basic materials needed to tie tube flies, including the tool you use to put in your vise, which holds your tube to tie your fly. We'll provide links to both of these products, the tube fly tying kit, the tube flies themselves, and the hooks in the product description of this video. If you've got any questions at all, don't hesitate to give us a call. We'll be glad to help you out. With that, I wish you the best of luck on the water.